Ken Climo sat down with Brian Earhart, who is potentially turning into one of the best interviews, one of the best disc golf media, one of the best people I think disc golf has right now. And he sat down and had an interview with the champ, Ken Climo. And the clip that they decided to pull out to kind of promote the interview, to promote people to go to watch, was this one. So we'll play this right now for everyone.
When I first started playing, there was single chain baskets with trays that were about this deep. And you'd hit a putt perfectly, and it would go down into the tray, and it would scoop around the back and flop out. So there was a certain amount of touch you needed to have to make the putt. And you couldn't just rip it in there. It would blow, chains would blow apart, it would hit the pole and come back at you, or it would scoop around and go out. So that's kind of why I developed my putt. It was a little bit softer, you know, not quite as hard in there, up to down, so it's going down into the basket, and better off, it's going to have a better chance of catching it if it's going down in the basket. Nowadays, the baskets are this deep, the disc doesn't scoop out the back, there's 48 chains in it, you know, and you can slam them in there and it catches it. So I think that may be where the game can take a hint from the past and add a little more touch into the game, because ball golf, you have to have touch around the hole. Perfect speed, you know, stuff like that, and either a smaller basket or whatever. I think something basket related could be where the game could become tougher.
All right, initial thoughts there, Calvin.
Yeah, I don't think those are any thoughts that, you know, that haven't been heard before or thought. The basket technology is way different now. I mean, there are a ton more chains, and it actually is like, I agree with some of the points he made. Like one of my least favorite baskets is the Mach X, because of literally how dense it is, and you can throw a disc 80 miles an hour into it, and it's not gonna miss. And that's, I do agree with the fact that I feel like we're slowly removing touch from the game. I don't know if we need to go all the way back to single chain baskets. I think there's an element of, you know, kind of flukiness to it. But I do think basket change would be a pretty easy fix to probably, you know, make the game tougher. Maybe not easy. Easy is the wrong word, but it is something that we could do, and it wouldn't be terribly hard to implement everywhere. So I've kind of felt like making it smaller may be the better solution, but you know, maybe removing some chains also would do the same thing.
Yeah, and I think two things with changing the basket happens, right? With making putting more difficult by having, let's say, a smaller target or something that, you know, a 30-foot putt becomes a little bit more challenging. One that puts more pressure and also puts more incentive on being able to throw closer to the basket. So
Yeah.
players that have better accuracy off the tee or approach shots now are more likely to excel than right now. There isn't that much difference between landing 40 feet from the basket and landing 30 feet from the basket. So that's one. And then the second one too is I think it really allows disc golf designers to set up greens in a way to where now the thought of like, oh, there's a real chance of me missing everything. And now where does the disc end up? So where we see right now, people kind of maybe 50 feet away or 45 feet away, kind of lay up sometimes or play soft to certain baskets when there's trouble behind. I think we could see more of that when there is, you know, 30 feet or something, if the baskets got smaller. Now, I don't want spit outs, and so that's why I've always said I'm cool with just moving in the chains and then moving out the basket. So that way, to me, I feel like if you hit the chains, it should stay in the basket.
Yeah. I think to a point. I mean, you don't want to make the tray too big to where if you're hitting one chain, you're still somehow flopping in. I feel like, but
But if the
definitely
chains
think,
were moved in quite a bit, hitting one chain is still
okay.
is still closer to where we are right now, where, you know, that's what I'm saying is you'd have to move in
Yeah.
like 6 inches. I don't know what the number is, but you'd move it in a way to where that is like it's a much more narrow target.
Yeah, I could see that working for sure. I mean, it would definitely take, you know, some testing and You know, I don't know exactly where you implement those tests and who would be doing them, but I think that's an interesting concept. I don't know how many people have actually tried. I know there are a handful of people out there that have been tweaking around with baskets for a while, but I don't. It doesn't really seem like it ever gets that far beyond them just doing it in their backyard.
So there was a couple people in the comments on this. I believe this was posted on. I mean, it was posted everywhere, but there was a couple people that came. Some pros. So you had Nico say, "When the champ talks, everyone needs to listen." And then you had Zach Melton giving the three kind of preacher hands. So he likes what he hears. And then you had Big Germ. Big Germ kind of went in opposite direction. Big Germ goes, "Love Climo, and I usually love his opinions. I do not like this take. In my opinion, disc golf evolved to the point where it is now by respecting the player's skill and rewarding proper accuracy with a higher percentage of made putts. Smaller cages, fewer chains, etc., is a regression for professional play in every sense of the word." So I see a little bit of his point of where he's saying like he wants to have more emphasis on rewarding players' skill and accuracy. But what I fail is like making the target harder is actually going to put that emphasis.
Yeah,
Someone someone that throws, to 5 to 10 feet on every hole is no longer going to take the same score as someone that's throwing to 25 feet on every hole. So that's where it's like I would love to see that be more separation is like more emphasis off the tee and then also just making it to where like a 20-foot putt no longer becomes oh, he misses it, like that was a huge choke job. More of just like, hey, you're going to miss some every once in a while.
yeah, I agree with that. I think it at first it'll be tough to kind of adapt as a player, but I think in the end, yeah, I think people that are more skilled are going to shine in that scenario where the target's harder to hit from any distance. And then, as you were talking about earlier, just I do think putting is like the most overpowered thing in disc golf and its current state. So if you do make the target a little smaller, if you're a great putter, like you're still going to excel. You're going to be hitting basket and staying close even when you miss. But it does reward those people that are better off the tee, as to where now there's such a big area you can land in if you're a good putter. It's yeah, I do think the game's a little imbalanced in that sense.